If I had a nickel for every time that Jeff Goldblum was beaten by a blonde and their weird green friend, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about Wicked for Good. In Wicked for Good, an angry mob rises against the Wicked Witch. Glinda and Elphaba will need to come together one final time. With their singular friendship the fulcrum of their futures, they will need to see each other with honesty and empathy if they want to change themselves and Oz for good. Now, getting right into the pros of this movie, I think that the cast absolutely kills it. Cynthia Erivo is fantastic as the Wicked Witch of the West. She is sympathetic, you understand her motivations, and vocally she knocks it out of the park in pretty much every song she's in. Ariana Grande is also perfect as Glinda. She sells the mean girl with a heart shtick very well, and I think she handles the Aussian pronunciations of words with such sincerity, and it makes her a really good fit for that character. And I really do think that whenever these two share the screen together, the movie is at its strongest. The casting director did a fantastic job of not only finding actors that are perfectly fit to these roles, they also have such chemistry with each other where in the first part you absolutely believe that they can't stand each other, and you still absolutely believe in part 2 that they are now the best of friends. And the film definitely realizes this because it manufactures more opportunities for Glinda and Elphaba to share the screen together, such as in the song Wonderful. Glinda was not originally in that song in the Broadway play, to my knowledge, and it definitely builds up that relationship even more, so when the ending does come, it's all the more devastating. Outside of the main two, the actor that I feel like had the biggest impact on me in the theater was definitely Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz. He's just who I see as the wizard now. That slimy, carny energy was perfect for that part. So definitely a shout out to Jeff Goldblum. He should keep taking roles like this. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention some of the more standout side characters. Jonathan Bailey definitely gives it his all as Fiyero. Every musical piece he's in, every dance number is absolutely solid. No notes there. I also really enjoyed Ethan Slater as Bach. He has a few moments in the script where he gets very, very angry and very, very upset, and he sells that to a T, and he knows when to sing and when to sing in order to convey emotions. And as someone who is in musical theater, I really enjoyed the decisions he made in that department. And then we had Marissa Bode as Elphaba's sister Nessa, and she does a good job in part 1 of getting you to feel sympathy for her. And by the time you get to part 2, you still feel sympathy, but you also can't really stand behind the decisions she's making. And playing that complexity is not an easy thing to do, and I really enjoyed the decisions that were made there as well. Outside of the main two, the actor that I feel like had the biggest impact on me in the theater was definitely Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz. He's just who I see as the wizard now. That slimy, carny energy was perfect for that part. So definitely a shout out to Jeff Goldblum. He should keep taking roles like this. And while not an acting performance per se, I do want to give a shout out to how this movie portrays Dorothy, because even when she's on screen, they don't really show her. They'll show a shot of her shoes, or they'll show her from really far away and up high, or they'll show her shadow. And it's basically the movie saying, hey, yes, this movie's The Wizard of Oz, but it's not about her. And I think it was a really funny way to do that, where it's just, yeah, we're barely going to show her on screen. I also enjoyed a lot of what this movie did visually. And right off the bat, I loved the costuming. The Aussian look to everything I thought was very well done. Definitely a lot of variation between Munchkin Land and the Emerald City, and I thought that that was really well done. Particularly, Glinda was a standout on the wardrobe department, which, as she should be, and they gave her like 40 dresses or something, and my girlfriend would look at me every once in a while and be like, yeah, I want that one. And I thought that that was pretty fun, that this whole civil unrest thing is going on, but she has like 40 new dresses she's got to get through, and I thought that that was a great way of using costume to show character. And another thing that I really love that carries over from part one is when they could have a practical set, they did have a practical set for the most part, and I am a stickler and a lover of everything practical, and I really just got immersed into the world and was very happy that I knew that someone took the time to actually build this set and not just design it in CGI and make it look better in post. And it really brought me back to old movies like Hook, which I just rewatched, that had massive practical sets. And I really enjoyed seeing a modern blockbuster with that much attention to detail in its set design. And even though I'm not a huge fan of using a ton of CGI where it was used here, it was used well. The monkeys and animals, for the most part, looked about as well as you can get them to look. I think that Glinda's bubble looked really good, and I also thought that it's a perfect way for that character to get around. And then I really liked the impact that they gave to Elphaba's flying scenes. It didn't feel quite as impactful as something like Man of Steel, but it was close, and I was really surprised at how forceful and how powerful they made Elphaba feel. I also think the music was pretty well done. I think that most of the actors held their own, and the composition was pretty strong for most of the music all around. In particular, I think that No Good Deed and Thank Goodness really stuck out, as well as For Good, which I have a personal emotional connection to, so whenever I hear the first couple of words of that song, I'm going to get emotional every time, and I think it absolutely did that song justice. So if put everything else in the movie to the side, as long as that song was done well, I was going to enjoy this movie. Now, while I did enjoy this movie quite a bit, there are a couple of things that I feel like could have been done better. And the first complaint I have about the movie is that it suffers from some awkward pacing. Some songs that should have only been a minute or two long ended up being quite a bit longer than that. And some songs that I feel like should have had more time to breathe didn't get that time to truly shine. In particular, No Place Like Home and The Girl in the Bubble just felt kind of unnecessary. I understand they were trying to give the audience a view into what these characters are thinking, but I just felt that they disturbed a little bit of the runtime and didn't really add enough in return. And the performances on those songs were fine. It's just that they didn't feel necessary, and I feel like the movie would have had better pacing if they would have condensed those or even removed them. I also do think that the movie glosses over some things, in particular some plot lines between Nessa and Elphaba, where Nessa is now governor of Munchkinland and she's making decisions people don't like, and she just calls herself the Wicked Witch of the East at one point, which I understand is part of the story, but there is just no real build-up. And so it just feels like it's kind of out of nowhere. And that the movie does things like that pretty consistently, where something like Elphaba's laugh, her Wicked Witch laugh, will just happen. And you're kind of sitting there going, okay, that's kind of out of nowhere, and now we're on to the next thing. So definitely a little bit of a pacing issue there. And while I do think the cast as a whole did a pretty good job in this movie, I did not really enjoy Michelle Yeoh in the second part. I didn't mind her in part one, but in this second part, it just feels like she doesn't really have the vocal chops to hang with some of the rest of the cast. At least in the part that she was cast to sing in. And while she didn't sound bad, it wasn't offensive. When you're hearing all of these other people that are at the top of their game vocally, and then you hear somebody who's holding pitch, holding tone, but not really knocking anything out of the park, it kind of, the switch up is a little bit jarring. I think she acted it well. I didn't really have a problem with her acting in it. I just think that musically there could have been a better casting, perhaps. And I do just want to clarify, I do love Michelle Yeoh. Most projects she's in, I think she crushes it. I just think that she might have been a little bit miscast here. I also think as a whole, some of the plot points don't really hit that great, just because historically the second act of Wicked has always been a little weaker than the first act. The first act has stronger character moments. It has stronger music for the most part. And so I think part 1 was always going to be a little bit better than part 2. But I do think that it was a solid effort in trying to bring the second act up to the level of the first act. And I just don't think it quite got there. It's definitely really good. It's just not quite on the level of part 1. Now, with all of that being said, I'm going to give Wicked for Good a 4 out of 5. I had a great time at the theater. I am very glad my girlfriend made me watch part 1 earlier this week and then go to the theater to see part 2. Because I had a lot of fun. I forgot how much fun that a big on-screen movie musical can be. And if you have the opportunity to go see it in theaters, I definitely recommend you getting out there and going to see it.